Good evening. We have to admit that this evening is really good. Why? Today we celebrate 86th anniversary of the apparition of the image of the Merciful Jesus. It was exactly 86 years ago when Sister Faustina wrote in her diary, "In the evening, when I was in my cell, I saw the Lord Jesus clothed in a white garment. One hand was raised in the gesture of blessing. The other one was touching the garment at the breast. From the fold of the garment, two great rays issued forth, one red, the other pale. Jesus said to her, 'Paint the image according to the vision you see, with the signature, Jesus, I trust in you.' I want this image to be venerated first in your chapel and all over the world. A soul that will venerate this image," Jesus continued, he said, "I promise that the soul that will venerate this image will not perish. I also promise victory over its enemies, already here on earth, and at the hour of death, I shall myself defend this soul as my own glory." So, this image is, we can say, like a letter from our loving Father. And every element of this image is very important. Every. Jesus said, "By means of this image, I shall grant many graces to souls." And I believe that many of us already experienced the power of this image. We have to say the power of Jesus working through this image. Who is Jesus whom we see at this image? This is Jesus, risen Lord, who is coming to the cenacle after his resurrection and establishes the sacrament of reconciliation. He says, "Whose sins you forgive are forgiven, and whose sins you retain are retained." Jesus is clothed in a white garment. We can see wounds on his hands and his feet. He touches his heart, wounded heart. Jesus, who establishes the sacrament of reconciliation, which is the fruit of his passion, death, and resurrection, when his mercy was revealed most fully, Jesus explained to Saint Faustina, "The two rays denote blood and water. The pale ray stands for the water, which makes souls righteous. The red ray stands for the blood, which is the life of souls. These two rays issued forth from the very depths of my tender mercy, when my agonized heart was opened by a lance on the cross. These two rays signify the sacraments. The pale one, water, which stands for sacrament of baptism and penance, which purify our souls. And the red one denotes Eucharist, the blood of Jesus, giving us new life." Jesus said, "These rays shield souls from the wrath of my Father. Happy is the one who will dwell in their shelter, for the just hand of God shall not lay hold of him." Happy is the soul who will dwell in their shelter of these rays, means the soul which will draw life directly from Jesus, means from sacraments. Jesus says, "The flames of mercy are burning me. I desire to pour them out upon human souls. What pain they cause me when they do not want to accept them. My daughter, do whatever is within your power to spread devotion to my mercy. I will make up for what you lack. Tell aching mankind to snuggle close to my merciful heart, and I will fill it with peace." We have to admit that looking at this image, which is the image of divine mercy, of merciful Jesus, we have to say it's not a cheap devotion. I have a funny story. I remember once when I was working in one of our retreat houses, a lady stopped me in the city, and she knew that we have a retreat house. And she asked me, "Sister, how much do you charge for a night in your retreat house?" So I said to her, and she said to me, "Oh, mercy is expensive." I said, "Wow, she's very mean." Of course, I didn't tell her what I thought, but when I came back home, then I realized, yeah, she was right. Exactly. We think mercy is for free, but it's not for free. Mercy is expensive. It is. He paid the price for mercy. I may think it's for free. The only thing I have to do is to open my heart to receive it. But mercy is expensive. He paid the price on the cross. He sacrificed his life for me and for you. And this is the price of his mercy. Jesus is pointing to his heart. We will come back to this topic of his heart and meditate a little bit more about it. But now I wanted to mention we are talking about not even a devotion, but about the person. Divine mercy is about the person of Jesus Christ and my relationship to him. When we come in front of this image, we see that the right hand is raised in the gesture of blessing. It's not a threatening finger. It's not a clenched fist. Jesus blesses me. To bless someone means to speak well, to speak good things, to see this person in a right way, in a good way. This is Jesus. He knows my heart. But my sins and my weaknesses are not a problem for him. For me, maybe, or for sure, but not for him. The first thing he is doing, he's giving me his blessing. The other thing is his gaze, his eyes. Jesus says, my gaze from this image is like my gaze from the cross. When I was reading these words, I realized if Jesus says about something, means it must be very important. So try to think about why Jesus says the gaze from this image is like my gaze from the cross. It's enough to look at his eyes. Means full of mercy. Some time ago I heard that the most connecting thing between people is the eye contact. And I agree with it. The most connecting thing between people is the eye contact. Jesus wants me to look straight into his eyes. And he wants to look straight into my eyes. Sometimes we are scared, we are afraid, we are shy, or I don't know, we avoid. Different reasons we have to avoid his eyes. He wants to look and to build up a very strong, intimate relationship with me, with each of us. Once I met a lady, I had a sharing like this evening to married couples, young married couples, and after this meeting, one lady came to me and said, "Sister, why Jesus, why does he have such a severe sight, severe eyes?" I said, "Where do you see it?" And she said, "Sister, when I'm looking at Jesus, I see his eyes are severe." I said, "I've never noticed it." She said, "Okay, I have to think, why do I perceive him in this way?" It was very wise. What is my image of Jesus? He is the merciful Lord. His heart is wounded for me. His heart, we can say, is fragile, vulnerable. But this is who he is. And what is my image of him in my heart, in my life? How do I perceive him? The next element is the feet of Jesus. Please notice they are not motionless. Jesus is coming out. Jesus is moving. He is walking toward me. He is walking with me along my way of life. He is accompanying me. Something very simple, what we know from our childhood. He is always with us. But very often we need to remind ourselves, I am never alone, never. And also we have to give him time to listen to, because it's different when I'm saying something to myself or when I hear it from him. I am with you, I'm protecting you. Don't be afraid. He is walking with me. He is clothed in a white robe, as a physician, we can say, as a divine physician. He knows my weaknesses, he knows my sins, my wounds, which I think sometimes incurable. He is my divine physician. He wants to heal me, everything what needs to be healed in me, in my life. And what is the most important thing? I would say the spirit of this devotion, the spirit of this image. Two attitudes. Attitude of trust and attitude of mercy. Please notice that I didn't say the act of trust, but the whole life attitude of trust, whole life attitude of mercy toward others. It's easy to say, but it's not easy to live it out in our everyday life. And probably these two attitudes are the most difficult to be practiced. Why? We can say, it's easy to say, Jesus, I trust in you when everything goes well in accordance to my will, when I am healthy, I have good job, it's pretty well. But when I experience a cross, when in Polish we say the wind is against me, blows into my eyes, when I don't know, I don't understand completely, I'm completely confused, I don't know what's going on and why and what direction I'm heading, then I think it's very pleasing for Jesus and He's waiting for these 3 words in Polish. Jesus, Jezu, ufam Tobie. Jesus, I trust in you. When we read the diary, it seems as if Jesus had no other desires but this one, to place our trust in Him. And on the other hand, as Satan has no other desires but to kill our trust in God. Why? I was thinking about it. What is the foundation of every relationship? Like in marriage, in friendship. And I realized this is trust. Before we start talking about love, then we have to build the foundation of trust. And when I see that something doesn't work, when someone, I think we all have this experience, when we really love someone and we see, and we trust this person, and we see that this person is testing us in any way, it's a terrible pain. And we see, like when our trust doesn't work, we see this is probably the end of the relationship, like the beginning of the end. And Satan knows about it. And we know from the book of Genesis, when he came to Adam and Eve and said, is God really so good when He told you, don't pick the fruit from all of the trees? Is He really so good? Don't we have questions like this? Is He really merciful when this happened, that happened in my family, in my life, in my country? Is He really so good? And on the other hand, you will not die. You will certainly not die. This is what Satan said. He presents himself as our benefactor. You will not die. And I think that this method is still valid. He has the same method all the time, throughout the ages, because it's fruitful. He knows when He kills our trust in God, when He accomplished it, we are His. That is why Jesus said, "Sense of distrust hurt me most painfully." Sense of distrust. And on the other hand, He says, encourage the souls with whom you come in contact to trust in my infinite mercy. How I love those souls who have complete confidence in me. I will do everything for them. The graces of my mercy are drawn by means of one vessel only, and that is trust. The more a soul trusts, the more it will receive. Souls that trust boundlessly are a great comfort to me, because I pour all the treasures of my graces into them. I rejoice that they ask for much, because it is my desire to give much. very much. On the other hand, I am sad when souls ask for little, when they narrow their hearts. So, looking at the image of the merciful Jesus and expressing our desire to be transformed into His mercy, asking Jesus to form our heart according to His heart, to be merciful. We have to be aware what we are praying for. Because this prayer is kind of scary. It's easy to say, okay, I want to be merciful, to give something, for example, to give something to the poor, to do something good, to make someone feel better. But the essence, we already said, the essence, the price for mercy is big, is very big. You know, my best definition of mercy, merciful, is compassion. Compassion, which means calm and passion, to suffer with, to be with this person who suffers, to take her suffering on me, to carry it with this person, to allow this suffering and evil of that person to hurt my heart. To have heart which is wounded, I think this is merciful heart. The heart which is wounded, maybe broken, vulnerable. This is mercy, and this is merciful Jesus. And at the end, I would like to share with you my experience. A few years ago, I was in our community in Boston, and there was some time over there when it was really tough time for me, very difficult experience, you know, like from inside and from outside. And we were doing in Boston the prison ministry. So like every week we were going to prisons. I remember, so it was during this time, this tough time, and you know, before, if you ever did it, before they let you in, they gave people like a sign, visitor, so no one will mix you with those who are in. And we still had some time before they let us in. And you know, with these labels, visitor, we are sitting on the bench, and you know, this pain came out of me, like out of the sudden, tears in my eyes. The other sister was sitting next to me, like nothing happened. And the question, am I at home or am I a visitor? Pain, no answer. Am I at home or am I a visitor? Just a visitor. After some time, I was on my retreat, and this question came back. So I had time to pray, to go to Jesus with this question. Jesus, am I at home or am I a visitor? And the answer came. Neither Poland nor America is your home. The wound of my heart is your home. So that time I found my home, and I wish that his heart also become, or I believe it already is your home. God bless you.